Hey everyone, it is Stacy Diemke with another edition of Dietitian Career Success. I am here today with you to introduce you to a dietitian that you may have met in the past here on my site or on other people's sites or her own website. So if you have any interest in working with food brands, food companies, you want to promote their product, you want to get samples of their product, you want to be an ambassador of their product, maybe because you want to share it with your own community or you want them to sponsor your content, you are in for a treat because today I am welcoming Jenna Gorham, who is the founder of the RD Link. So welcome, Jenna.
Thank you, Stacy. I'm so excited to be here and be back.
I know before we hit record, you guys, we were having a fun conversation about running our businesses and laughing and loving what we do. So Jenna, maybe you can explain a little bit about how you developed this amazing platform for dietitians and for food companies. I should mention that it's not just for dietitians, it's also for food companies and brands out there. So maybe tell a little about how you started this company.
Sure. It actually came out of a personal need when I was working in private practice. As I was growing my business, I started to host a lot of local events and I was collaborating with yoga studios and different fitness studios. And I would reach out to brands and ask them for coupons or samples or any resources to share at these events. And I would share it on social media and dietitians would come to me and say, how are you connecting with all these brands? How can I do that too? And so it eventually, I just had the need of, I had all these brand connections and all these dietitians who were looking to connect. And so I knew there had to be an easy way to make it easy for them to connect. So eventually that evolved into consulting where I would do it manually for them. And I would build dietitian outreach and ambassador programs and then eventually put it onto an online platform.
It's an amazing platform. I do hope you guys can all check it out and become members if you're not already members. So like we were sort of talking about offline, you've got two audiences that you are working with, that you are nurturing, that you are helping each of them. So you've got the dietitians. So maybe from the dietitian perspective, how does the process work? How can dietitians actually connect then with companies? What's it look like for them? And is there a cost?
Sure. So it's free for dietitians to join. And so all you need is your licensure number. So we do vet each dietitian just to ensure that they are true credentialed experts. And that's it. And then you complete a profile that is visible to all of the brands who are on the site. And that kind of serves as your billboard. And on their end, they can filter through the experts. So if they're looking for a sports dietitian in Texas, they can get very granular and find the right fit partners for them. And then as far as working with the brands, there's a few ways dietitians on our site can do that. Brands will post different partnership opportunities that they have available. So oftentimes it is things like free samples or ambassador and affiliate programs. And sometimes there's more specific partnership opportunities like they're looking for spokespeople or micro influencers to share about their product. And dietitians can apply for any of the campaigns available. Plus, dietitians can post their own partnership pitches for the brands to see too. So often dietitians who have like upcoming TV spots or they're going to a health fair and they want to share samples or they have a podcast that they're looking for sponsors for advertisements for, they can post those and all the brands will be notified. So essentially it's just one hub of all the brands who want to work with dietitians. So as a dietitian, you don't have to question like, does this brand work with dietitians? Do they know what a dietitian is? Do I have to explain myself? But it's just one hub where you can go and, these brands are interested in connecting with you.
Thank you so much, Jenna, for all that juicy bit. That makes me really excited. And I'm hoping other dietitians are also getting excited. So you mentioned, there's, a couple different ways that you can then connect with the brands. You mentioned that dietitians can pitch what their interest is, what their needs are. So for example, wanting some advertisement on their podcast, for example, or maybe a blog, or like you said, a specific example of a health fair wanting some product. How do you recommend a dietitian proceed with writing this pitch? Or so what are some essential elements that should be in a pitch?
So through the site, we make it super easy because over the years, we've had a lot of questions about how to write that perfect pitch. And I don't think we need to overcomplicate it.
Mm.
But there's a few ways you can do it through our system is you can send the brands a direct message, and all of those messages go to the correct contact person at the company. So you don't have to worry about, reaching out to a general hello at info at email inbox. It goes to the correct person. And if you're to send a message, you could send a simple message asking for product or to learn more about the companies. Or it could be a more specific pitch, like I have this going on. Would you like to participate? I find for pitching or for any type of sales outreach, it works to focus on the value add and the benefit to them, make it about them rather than yourself. And oftentimes more specific opportunities work well too, rather than like I could write blogs, I could do recipes, I could put you on my podcast. But if you focus in on one thing, showing that you know them or their audience or where you could specifically provide value to them, that seems to work well. But if you weren't going to direct message, we also have the partnership pitch option where all you have to do is upload details of your offer, essentially. So if it's a live event, you can share details of that. You can share the size of the audience you'll reach, your pricing for it, what's included in the package, all those specific details, and then it will blast out to all of the brands.
Okay. Oh, I like what you were saying back on the crafting a pitch. You talked about not just saying like that you as the dietitian need to have money to sponsor, right? It's not about what you need. It's about what they need and directing to how you're going to help them, how you're going to solve their problem, how you're going to help their business. I love that idea because I think that translates to so many elements of career, right? Like you're trying to get a new job or you're trying to get a promotion. You're talking about what value you can add that will benefit them, benefit the business, benefit the revenue, benefit the brand itself, the marketing, all of that. So I think that's a really important message that I believe is sort of a new pivot for a lot of us who are new to sales, new to marketing, to think about like, what is the return that people can get from this? What's the return that the brand can receive from working with you as the dietitian, specifically you? And then again, like, being very specific about what it is that you need. So I like that. That's helpful.
Right. Well, it's similar like for a private practice dietitian, if you're speaking, doing discovery calls, speaking with a dietitian, you focus on the end result that they want and how can you help them meet their goals or help them with their needs. And so similar when you're speaking with a brand, it's getting to know what challenges are they facing, what do they want to get out of working with you. If you're an influencer dietitian, they probably want your larger reach. If you're a private practice dietitian, maybe they want to reach your, in-person community. So it really depends on the different value that you can provide. And that may be different brand to brand or customer to customer.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. That's so important. Again, I think it's sort of new thinking, right? Like we have been taught to talk about like our value, what we can do, and how important we are in our expertise, which is true. That's all true.
It is.
But I think for the marketing, for them to like really get pulled in and want to work with you again, whether it's a client or whether it's a patient, that's what's going to perk their ears and make them think, yeah, this is a great fit. Like, let's make
Well,
this
it's
happen.
interesting. It was I wrote a newsletter to our brands the other day, and it was similar to this of why it seems like more and more brands are picking up on dietitians in general and understanding more who they are and what they do and how they differ from, health coaches or nutritionists or any other health title. And, it wasn't too long ago where I think a lot of dietitians really had to lean into the dietitian credibility, into the dietitian credential. But I think, with things like, the telehealth platforms like the Nourish and the Fae, it's driving more awareness
Totally
to what a
agree.
dietitian is. And so a lot of times, brands are more familiar with what a dietitian is now. So it takes some load off of our plate where we don't have to focus too much on, explaining who we are. They kind of get that now.
I think you're totally right. I know there's a lot of sort of discourse between dietitians, what we think about the telehealth companies. They're really big ones like Nourish, for example, or other ones that we've heard advertised on TV, right? Like I am in the camp that this is like really helped our platform. It's really helped people understand not everyone's going to be working with a dietitian using Nourish or another telehealth platform, but they will have heard the word registered dietitian. And that is
Yeah.
different than a health coach or a person in the gym who might be knowledgeable in general nutrition, but is really different than a credentialed licensed
Yeah.
dietitian. I totally agree. I think that's really helped us. And maybe also the Health and Human Services has brought to light all the gradients of a credentialed dietitian.
Yeah,
Um,
hopefully.
so you and I are both very active on LinkedIn, and you have a great newsletter as well, and you're active in your posting on LinkedIn. I have noticed that you're giving a lot of really great information to food brands, and maybe you can speak a little bit about how you spend like half of your day. I'm imagining like you're spending some of your day with curating dietitians to get them onto the platform, and you're spending another part of your day curating and getting more food brands onto or food companies onto your platform. Tell us a little bit about how you spend your time, or how that works where you are trying to get food brands onto your platform to be able to work with them.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I wish it was more structured where half my day was focusing on dietitians and half on brands, but it's a little more sporadic than that. And I find, the dietitians were lucky where that it grows pretty much word of mouth just through being part of the dietitian community, and having such a large dietitian network. People refer their colleagues and their friends. And so that is more organic growth. And I honestly don't do a ton to promote it to dietitians. That's something that, I always have on my mind, where I would love to reach more dietitians. And I have, tons of ideas for how to provide more value and more content and more education. So it's an ongoing thing. As far as the brand side, that is something that, like you said, I've been more active on LinkedIn. And I've also this past year started a newsletter for our brand customers too. So I've worked on building up that email list to just foster a community of brands to help drive awareness around not only the value of dietitians, but what they can do for food companies. So whether it's an ambassador program or affiliate program or partnerships. And so that I spend a lot of my time is having these one-on-one calls with brands and understanding where they're at, and are they hiring dietitians, or how are they looking to work with dietitians, and how can we help them get there. So it's a lot of one-on-one calls, a lot of brands coming to us. Some dietitians will refer us brands, or even direct outreach myself too.
Thank you for all that. That was very interesting. You mentioned that you're working either one-on-one on the phone call with these companies. What's your forecast for dietitians working with food brands? There's always going to be changes in the market, in the consumer market, and for the food market. What's your forecast for the future? Do you see more food brands working with dietitians, about the same, or what's your thought on that?
Definitely more. I think I was just thinking about this the other day, how I go back to me, the first dietitian ambassador program was Siggy's. I don't know if you remember
Yeah,
that
I
program, so
do.
many years ago. And it was very innovative at the time, and nobody else was doing that. And it took a while for other companies to pick up. And it seems like more in the past year or so, we're seeing healthcare practitioner programs and brand ambassador programs just like skyrockets. Like every brand is all of a sudden seeing that and seeing the value of aligning their brand with health and wellness and nutrition experts, to drive that credibility. And so I think we're also in a time where consumers are expecting more from the companies they buy from. And so they want to know these are companies they can trust. And so brands get that trust by aligning themselves with trusted experts. So I really only see it growing, whether it is ambassador programs or paid media partnerships. I think it's continuing to grow.
Thank you. That's super interesting. And then that's very encouraging, I think, for everybody, and really interesting insight. All right, I'm going to switch gears a little bit. And both of us run tech companies. Both of us are sitting in front of our computers to run our business, in addition to the phone, but we're on our computers. I think I'm always interested to know, sort of be the fly on the wall, and what somebody's day looks like. Can you tell us what kind of technology you use to run your business, or what kind of apps that you like to use, or give us some tools that you like to use.
Let's see. So our product it's a custom build. So I work with developers who build that. But as far as other technology tools, I'm on Zoom a lot. Slack, I love for communicating with my team members. That one's great. Canva for any content creation. For email marketing, we use Campaign Monitor. I think there's plenty out there. I'm not biased one way or another, but I think those are my primary ones.
That's good. Thank you. I always like to hear, like, the behind the scenes, like
Yeah.
how someone's running their business. And I think it's helpful for other dietitians who want to run their own business, sort of thinking through, like, what would it look like to do this, and what skills do I need to have? What skills can I then tout to other companies, maybe that I want to work for them, maybe someone wants to work for you, or whatever it might be, that they would need to know how I could be successful in that position. So speaking of success, I have been a huge fan of yours for years and many years, and I've really been impressed with your promotion of dietitians, your effervescence, your perseverance with this business. It's been really fun to watch. What would you recommend for other dietitians wanting to be successful in, whether it's any space, I'll just say, not just technology, but any type of space where you are an entrepreneur? Like, what skills do you think were you born with, and what skills have you developed along the way?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, being an entrepreneur has its pros and cons, of course. Like, you may not have the stability of a standard job, but you have the freedom to create whatever you want. So I think as long as you lean into, having fun with it and enjoying it, and going with, yeah, just trusting your gut. And I think as far as skill set, I never planned to be an entrepreneur. I kind of fell into it just out of a personal need. I thought I need to create this product. So I was an accidental entrepreneur, but so I didn't necessarily have the skill set. You learn a lot as you go. So I think entrepreneurs are resilient. There's a lot of ups and downs and highs and lows. I think you learn things as you go. Things I'm always learning are leadership and management skills with different team members, communicating with different types of people. And there's certain things I've had too, like organization and that drive, and the visionary and the ideas. That all comes naturally, but there's things you learn as you go too.
Yeah. One other question I have for you is, dietitians are often not happy with the salary that they're making or the income that they're generating, or people believing that we just need to make more money as dietitians. What's your perspective on that, and how do you think dietitians can make more money?
That's definitely a common topic among our field, I think, unfortunately. Yeah, I think historically we are, paid, not very much, particularly in clinical settings. And I think as more and more people see the value in dietitians and just the career or the field grows, hopefully that will grow too. As far as making more, if you work in some type of larger organization, it's developing skill sets to position yourself to be able to, ask for a higher wage, or show your strengths and your value to the organization. I know, at least with people on my team, I really value the people who are able to take initiative and, be the go-getters and self-motivated, and they can take the lead on different ideas or projects, and they don't require as much hand-holding. So to me, those people are, it's obvious what they bring to the table. And so when it comes time where they ask for a pay raise, it's easier for me to make that decision. Whereas if you're someone who needs like a checklist of items and a lot of hand-holding, it's harder from the manager perspective to see that.
You brought up something interesting in that leadership, that oftentimes when we hear, oh, you need to have leadership skills, you have to think, you're thinking, oh, I've got to be the clinical nutrition manager, or I need to be the president of my local dietetic association, or I need to be a food service manager, whatever it is. You think you have to have that in your title. But I think think what you've said and what a lot of other people have been saying as well is that it's really about the initiative. It's really taking the lead, and that counts as leadership. And that's really valuable. That is so incredibly valuable to an employer. It really shows that you are excited and interested in the benefit and the wealth and the health of the company, which oftentimes I think an employer and an employee sort of have like, a separation, whereas somebody who's got these leadership skills or leading skills can really show up for the company. And I think that's really helpful. So as you described, I like that. I think that's really helpful. That's good insight.
Yeah, and I know that's something I've learned too as I'm hiring different people too. And I'm a very small company, and so I know that I don't necessarily have the bandwidth to hold someone's hand through everything. And so I really need somebody who can take the initiative and show that leadership. And I think no matter what size the organization or company you work for, it's definitely, and I think it's something dietitians often have too, where we tend to be that driven type of individual.
Yeah, you don't need to go to leadership school. You can, but you don't have to to really just show up, right? And take the lead on some projects or within your team, just helping out your boss or your grand boss, like just really getting in there. Yeah, that's really helpful.
Back when I first started my business, another dietitian gave me great advice that when I was taking on my first consulting clients, and she told me, your job is to make your contact there look really good. And so I often think of that, which is actually great advice, where your job in a way is to, make it easier on your manager, your supervisor, or your clients.
That's really great advice, because we've talked about this before. I have spoken to my audience about this, that when you're up for a performance evaluation, of course, look at your own job description and make sure that you're doing everything. Look at the job description that's up from a pay grade up from yours and see if you're meeting some of those and if you can move into a different pay grade. But also ask your manager, what is it that you are doing? What are you being graded on? And how can I help you? What are your KPIs or your key performance index that you need to be meeting that I can help meet that as well? Because then you create this amazing alliance, but then the whole team is being elevated and everybody benefits from that. It's not always so, easy, but there are certainly ways that can be done. And I think that's just a great mindset to have when thinking about how to be successful in a company, and then also how to have that company be successful, because they're in business to make money or to provide a service and provide a product. So helping them be successful is helpful. Definitely. All right, Jenna, enough of me. I'd like to hear more about how people can connect with you. Of course, they can connect with you on LinkedIn. Any other way that they can connect with you?
Sure. My primary, social outlet is LinkedIn. So I'm at Jenna Gorham. And then people can reach me via email at jenna@theartylink.com. And really the best way to connect would be through creating your free dietitian profile at theartylink.com. So it's free for all dietitians. You just need to essentially put in your name and a few other details, and then you'll have direct access to all these brands that want to connect with you. So that's really the best way to connect.
Oh, thank you so much for your time, your expertise, your insight.
Thank you.
I know everyone's going to it's lots of great insights that you provided, and people are going to be thinking about their own career and then also working with your company as well, with brands. So thank you for creating this amazing hub, this brand hub for dietitians, the RD Link. And I will put all of the links that she mentioned down below in the comments and the discussion. So do check out her site, and then also look around for jobs on NutritionJobs.com. And you can also participate in the anonymous salary survey called dietitiansalaries.com. And I hope to see you guys around soon. Thanks again, Jenna.
Thanks, Stacey.